all over the country.
Free podcasts.
Free playlists.
Free contests.
Free artist radio stations.
Commercial-free stations.
It's free. I love iHeartRadio.
Join the millions of music, radio, and podcast fans on the #1 streaming radio app now.
iHeartRadio.
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 Free never sounded so good.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
we welcome open-minded individuals
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
with open arms
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
for open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world, wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and yes, are up and on all of those, at least as near as I can tell here, and definitely back here live in the studio with you. Yeah, was down with the sickness yesterday. All I can say is I will no longer be recommending that live, or at least fresh, claiming to be oyster truck out Highway 9. In any case, yeah, that's entirely tongue-in-cheek, but might give you a little bit of an idea of why I was out and why, if I ever have a sudden commercial break coming up in this program, you'll know why. But in any case, back at it, and quite a lot to talk about, even if we're just getting into the things that were happening over the weekend, of which there was multiple, and also, of course, into yesterday. Okay, going a little bit more into some of those crime things than usual, though these would be things we'd be addressing anyway, including the multiple false reports being made to El Paso police causing lockdowns at multiple local institutions, and also, of course, that coming with other reporting, including about threats being investigated by local FBI, new special agent in charge there. Also, other investigations happening as part of, including hidden runs, of what was going on during our things and during this program in previous weeks. Also, some on those protests or rally, I don't know, up to you how you want to put it, from over the weekend, but also more on border security and immigration. Of course, that has never been not a topic in effect in our region, but more of it, including, more response coming in from other parts of the whole region, including New Mexico lawmakers realizing what we had been questioning 2 weeks ago, give or take, of wait, is there now concertina wire between Texas and New Mexico? Short answer, yes. And short answer from them, yeah, concerned about it, even though Texas now suing the Border Patrol over their razor wire policies, among other things. And that among the other things going on around the world, yes, the Middle East continues to exist in more or less, a heightened state of what it usually is. But you can't tell me that this is too much different than any other time of other intensity. In any case, amongst those discussions here, something we didn't quite get to last week, talking about $14 billion in additional border security and immigration funding happening, even as an El Pasoan is named to Border Patrol Chief of the San Diego sector. So, a lot going on. And also, elections? We've got those coming up, and some analysis on what parts of them are. And in the midst of all this, the Texas legislature is still figuring out whatever the hell it's going to be doing with this special legislative session. A number of bills having already gone through from the Senate side of things, and the House figuring out, maybe not getting its act together. The act to get together is definitely between the two chambers, but trying to figure out how it'll respond, how it'll deal with, and grand bargains. That feels a little bit hollow given how it's worked out so far, but let's try calling it that, particularly since that there is nothing is a done deal as of just yet, even when it comes to things you would think are high priorities, but also other legislative or policy changes, maybe a better way to put it, including a couple of interesting ones, at least, that we'll talk from the city of El Paso. So let's just call this a redo Monday, because there's a lot to get into here and a lot we'll want to be hearing from you all as well. Appreciate those already joining us over on the social media, including Sean Garner. Good afternoon to you as well, and Ida Beza Gardner with the high and the wave there as well. That's one of the better ways. Of course, you can chime in during the progression of the program and let us know what you're thinking. And of course, as always, appreciate those likes and reacts, including the aforementioned and also RJ and James Holmes. So again, if you want to chime in, let us know what you think and make sure everything can be seen. Again, pretty sure we've dealt with all those ghosts in the system there, but in any case, a lot still going on, a lot to talk about, and a lot to get into, including the fact that I just have to make this mention, if only because there was a couple of articles from the Texas Tribune when it came to the Speaker of the House race that within just over 24 hours of each other, including the who is Pete Sessions and why is he running for Speaker, and Texas Rep. Pete Sessions drops out of U.S. Speaker race, as was just heard, was looking at earlier today, another one, the Minnesota representative, who is now also already dropped out of that race. So, no, the black smoke is still coming from that dumpster fire, showing no new speaker has been elected. In any case, a lot to get into, so appreciate y'all being along with us here as we continue, of course, our dual missions to have live local talk radio here in the borderland, and I am bound and determined to continue that part of it, and also to talk about the things going on and affecting us here, because no one else is going to have that discussion, as we also have Marco for Mayor over on the YouTube chiming in with us there. Appreciate that. So let's dive straight into it and talk about, trying to do like a disturbability index of all of this is, because they hit differently sometimes, but this one definitely hits high on whatever perspective scale you're looking at, except for maybe the comfy scale, because, just from our news partners at KFOX 14, El Paso police investigate multiple false 911 reports of armed individuals, and saying that specifically El Paso police and law enforcement responded to, again, multiple locations and didn't find any evidence of supporting the reports, with El Paso police saying that they are going to remain vigilant, and this causing, among other things, you may have seen those reports, like the Hospitals of Providence campus going on to lockdown within that case. Again, according to our news partners at KFOX 14, the hospital releasing a statement saying, out of abundance of precaution, the Trans Mountain campus was evacuated this morning due to reported incidents. All protocols were taken. We worked closely with law enforcement, and the incident was cleared. The safety of our patients, staff, and visitors is a top priority. Our hospital is open and fully operational. We are grateful to the El Paso Police Department and all law enforcement for their swift response. And a similar situation unfolding at El Paso Community College Northwest campus, which by my reckoning is not too far away from it there. Their update coming over social media, X, formerly known as Twitter, saying the off-campus situation has been resolved and normal operations can continue. And also Cañetillo High School having a temporary lockdown there as well. Again, to a very similar situation. And so what police have said to this point is that an investigation into false reports is underway. But of course, this isn't the first or only time that this has come up in the region in, let's call it, recent years, because it's been happening. We've seen it at usually individual campuses. But the fact that someone, just think about what it takes, right, to investigate something as opposed to make these reports, as it's a dichotomy. And part of the problem there is that, again, you can throw way more stuff at the wall than it takes to then investigate, scrape it off, and see what is actually real. So that's why that investigation part of this is pretty critical, because if we're not finding out who is doing this and proving conclusively that this is not in any way, shape, or form acceptable. Okay, if anyone thinks this is acceptable, I have a whole lot of questions about your mentality and your ethics, upbringing, etc. But I think it'd be pretty fair to say that anyone who knows, has two brain cells to rub together, would know that this is a bad thing. And so I'm not going to be satisfied with anything of like, oh, well, we just didn't know. Like, seriously, this is malfeasance of the highest order. And RJ putting it pretty succinctly, saying, way to go, just waste resources, manpower, and money. Oh yeah, let's hope nothing is really happening that needs police presence to save lives. So the book being thrown at whoever is perpetrating these, again, false reports is a very minor way to put it, because can you an avalanche of books? Is there multiple books we can throw at them, or just lock up, throw away the key, etc.? Because seriously, that is the impact of this here, with the ability to just make as many reports as you want without there being just monumental repercussions, including, I would be hoping, considering that in other parts of the community, whatever generates responses here. Okay, there's one part of a relative's house that has a pretty decent view of the west side of the mountains, and I swear we keep counting whenever we're over there, the amount of people up on there late at night at what we're assuming is their cell phone flashlights. Of course, haven't seen any major. There have been other rescues happening in the area recently, but case in point, that the people who end up having to be rescued off the mountain, so don't be going hiking like at this point during the day. You got to be doing it like in the morning, so you got the whole ding damn day of daylight to deal with yourself. Those people end up getting charged for what the rescue, helicopter, vehicles, people trudging up the hill and carting them down, those kind of things. Okay, want people to be safe, but when it comes to just having bad ideas and following through with them, yeah, there's got to be a little bit of a repercussion. And in this case, I would hope that's, I don't know if they can do truly a cost per response when it comes to police heading out to a location. At least charge them for the gas is what I'm saying whenever we find out and figure out who it is. And that's at least part of, related to what has previously been talked about, but El Paso Inc. in their most recent edition, talking with John Morales, the new special agent in charge for the El Paso area with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, more commonly known as the FBI, talking about, among other things, drug trafficking and threats of violence in school. So I'm going to call this at least mildly related to that, considering that dealing with these kind of things, and depending on if someone, among other things, called across state lines or made those threats kind of all that way, yeah, federal charges could absolutely come involved with this. So a lot of that developing around our area. One final note I want to make on a law enforcement aspect is that, El Paso police seek information in a hit and run that killed an 80-year-old man. We were reporting on that during the midst of our show, ending up last week. And so now El Paso police and Crime Stoppers, according to our news partners over at KFOX 14, asking for help in figuring out what the incident that resulted in the death of 80-year-old Luis Valles when he was found lying near the intersection of Kansas and 3rd Street. And a passerby called it in and unfortunately did not... Again, the victim in this case did not make it through. So anyone with information on, again, it was reported to be there a hit and run, someone hitting him and driving off. Again, scumbag alerts, is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 915-566-8477. That's 915-566-8477. That's TIPS for tips, or CS El Paso for crimestopperselpaso.org. So that's a little bit of fun law enforcement related stuff going on in and around our region, but more stuff happening, particularly over the weekend, and getting into some of those both local and I guess you could call them stateswide, both Texas and New Mexico getting involved with it when it comes to a few different things, including that rally happening downtown. Interesting perspectives coming out on that, been reading up on, but also concertina wire between 2 U.S. states. That generating some controversy, as could have been wholeheartedly expected, but we'll delve into that and a whole lot more. You're again tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Yes, back in the saddle, back at it, getting to all those things, as much as we can cram into. Anyway, going on affecting us here in the borderlands, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break, here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Hammer and Nails, more than just El Paso's newest men's grooming destination. Also one of the best options to keep yourself looking and feeling good. I am desperately due for my next one, and so going to go and have do them justice to us. And here, as the official hair and beard sponsors of the show, they've let the baseline, but definitely need to go and tame the mane and the overall woolly situation I've been encountering. Been a little bit busy lately, y'all, if you can imagine. But in any case, it's real easy to make the appointment with them. I just need to find the time to get out there, and once I do, you'll be seeing the great results that come from being the full service grooming destination that they do offer, from literal head-to-toe coverage, whether it be hair, beard, facial, hand and foot services. You want to find out all the things they offer. They're real simple to find online and make your appointment at hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's Hammer A&D Nails Grooming, or just find them over there, Fountains at Farrah, lower level, 8889 Gateway Boulevard West, Suite 1760, and I'll see you there.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash on southbound Airway at Montana is blocking 2 right lanes and causing stop-and-go traffic back to Boeing. Police and medical on the scene there. I-10 eastbound at Copia, 2 vehicles off on the left shoulder, slowing traffic. 10-minute delays northbound on the Loop in the East Valley. Loop 375 between Montana and the Spur. I-10 eastbound has 25-minute delays from Vinton down to Artcraft. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
These days, high prices are forcing Americans to make hard decisions.
Do I buy the toothpaste or the toilet paper?
We have a better way. Inflation compensation. $1,000 price bustin' prize. Be listening for your shot to win a grand.
Inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM is brought to you by Mazer Security Systems, providing El Pasoans state-of-the-art protection and peace of mind for more than 30 years.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of their everyday financing offers. Lowe's knows home improvement, subject to credit approval.
A lot of El Paso businesses would agree that it's getting harder to find new customers. After all, it's one thing to run a business and another to grow it. But what
Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the very reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Yeah, a lot of conversation already coming in about some of those things, people chiming in, including Edgar Ortiz, letting us know he's on board with us as we continue talking about things going on and affecting us here in the borderlands. So, a lot of stuff to be discussed here, so we'll dive straight back into it. Phone calls a little bit later in the program, as we usually do. Getting back on track here for it again. Roadside sushi not recommended here in any circumstance, wondering where we were yesterday. And let's just say I should be investing in some pharmaceuticals. Right, I've been taking them. But anyway, back here and doing all these show things. So, one of the bigger things reported on over the weekend in the area, among other things, of course, was the rally. Well, just quoting here from the reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14, pro-Palestinian rally in El Paso aims to educate community and call for peace. That was certainly a part of it, though I'm also aware of some criticism of the coverage that happened over the weekend on this because, among other things, I mean, this was a pro-Palestinian group, so wasn't necessarily expecting the most perspective on it, on the whole situation, but, I mean, some of the things sound fine on the surface level, including two wrongs don't make a right, ceasefire now, which is, again, an interesting part of probably more Friday discussion, but just because it was the local rally based on this, the whole idea of there being a ceasefire, and that for some reason, well, you can get into the reasons probably later in the week on why is that seeming to favor one side more than the other. Now, of course, it's very important in my mind to note that this most recent conflict and the thing that the ceasefire would be causing was sparked by Hamas, the terrorist group originating out of the Gaza Strip area, and there's not much other reference I can make to them, and doing it on a massive attacks on both certainly military but also decidedly non-military targets, resulting in the deaths of tens of hundreds, if not thousands. I think we're into the low thousands there on either side of this conflict. So this is not a both sides are just as bad kind of situation, though there's not a whole lot of good to go around. And yeah, I know that there was some criticism of the coverage here. Just wanted to address that. So that's one of the things going on. I do want to say at least a sometimes listener to this program was also in attendance at that rally as one of the only ones saying like, yeah, okay, but I have questions, to put it mildly here. But other situations unfolding in the borderland, like those questions we had been having about some of what particularly Governor Greg Abbott had been ordering in our immediate region when it comes to the Operation Lone Star, that concertina wire that I had questions on and finally did end up confirming based on the pictures and going by it, asking about, so wait, is that between Texas and New Mexico? And of course then the governor himself through his, again, Twitter, for X, formerly known as Twitter, confirming that, yeah, it's between Texas and New Mexico. Now, anyone familiar with the situation, particularly once we get over to, again, not too far from our station here, particularly the railroad bridge over Executive Center, where it end up meets Paisano, and where kind of you got that now it's a major highway, the Border Highway West expansion, but the Paisano and the Donovan interchange that exists down around there, as we also have Eric Von Holstein-Rathlow joining us there over in the comments, thanks, and also Patriot Chick over on the YouTube, let us know thunderstorms rolling in. Yeah, there were some ominous clouds as we were headed in today, and what my spouse thought was hail hitting, don't think it actually was. It's just a new screen door that I haven't totally properly installed in our back window. But in any case, yeah, careful with the weather out there, folks. But in any case, on those situations, actually our news partners at KFOX 14 speaking with, among others, New Mexico Democratic Congressman Gabe Vasquez, who is representing the, I believe it's New Mexico 2nd District. That's the one that's basically the entire southern part of New Mexico, questioning about the viability of this, and specifically calling the governor's actions unconstitutional. And again, yeah, it was something that was tweeted out by the governor a couple of weeks ago at this point, citing specifically reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14, saying that, again, the razor wire strung from Governor Abbott's orders, saying from his, again, X, formerly known as Twitter, this is on the border between Texas and New Mexico. Migrants are entering New Mexico illegally, then crossing into Texas. We are stopping it. And when it comes to the Texas National Guard, a spokesperson said this statement to our news partners, quote, the Texas National Guard has heavily fortified the border in El Paso with 18 miles of concertina wire. We're now fortifying the border between Texas and New Mexico to block migrants who are entering New Mexico illegally, then crossing into Texas. The effort in El Paso was bolstered by the recent deployment of the Texas Tactical Border Force to El Paso. The Texas National Guard remains focused on operations to prevent, deter, and interdict transnational criminal activity and illegal immigration along the border. So when it comes to further in New Mexico, including New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, who we've talked a little bit about recently, the statement on this situation from her office says, quote, the state stands ready to assist as requested by federal or local partners to ensure individuals are treated with compassion and respect while maintaining public safety. We encourage Governor Abbott to turn his attention away from a never-ending stream of political stunts and towards working in earnest for the people of the state he was elected to represent. So, end quote, and I'm not going to call that the most friendly statement, if not exactly an outright condemnation. Of course, the situation that exists over there, and we've heard from recent years, plural, certainly, about the situation occurring in particularly Sunland Park, New Mexico. Now we have, of course, there is some border wall. You can see that, again, not even driving too far around from here. Look out towards the mesas, and particularly like, Anapra, there are border barrier parts that exist over in that way. But once you get into the Mount Cristo Rey area, it's not that simple. The whole Caldera area that is over there, because for anyone who's unfamiliar, the reason that we've got that strange, lonely mountain out in the middle of the otherwise, El Paso and Juarez mountain ranges is basically it's a volcano that never happened. Like it bulged up the ground, but never erupted, and so all the dirt that was bulged up wore away over the years, and so that's why you've got kind of those foothills and then the main, Mount Cristo Rey as it is on its own. And the base of it's kind of like this egg-shaped looking thing. If you've ever taken a satellite view on it, it's in all three states of Texas, New Mexico, and Chihuahua, and so therefore the two countries of U.S. and Mexico at once. And that's not even just around the logistics are a little bit of a nightmare. That's why even the We Build the Wall folks, the part that was built, the privately built wall, doesn't encompass the whole area. It's basically sloping up from the river there in New Mexico on that side of it, the Rio Grande, and up to where the terrain then gets real treacherous. So that's part of the reason why. I mean, there have been certain intimations over the years about it's church property, you can't do that here, or it's so difficult, and some of those end up being true or not. Not really sure about the whole religious impacts of it here, even though, I mean, that's certainly significantly important to some in our region. It tends not to have terrific amount of impact on federal policy, but I mean, even during the Trump administration, that part was not being built. So that's why there still is. And if you ever look over in those foothills, it's, at least from this side, not too hard to spot, usually on a clear day, and particularly if you got any of the glints happening just right from some of the vehicle windows. A lot of presence over there from Border Patrol. Usually if there is a helicopter flying from them, it's usually circling that area, among other things. So that's part of the reason why. That's why we've seen part of that as the response being needed in our area, why, Sunland Park and that part of southern New Mexico has had probably, it's hard to find exact stats there except for the individual reporting incidents and from some aggregate number in that area, that specific kind of strip, I guess you could put it there, like RJ saying they need a border wall around Ardavino's property. Again, there kind of is. When you get to, again, the Anapra part of it, I recall being out there to specifically August 2nd of 2019 when, as is being brought up here, questions about other representatives in our area when it was, again, Veronica Escobar, of course, representative to the federal Congress from our area, leading a delegation out there. And also that's that part, the Anapra part of it near Sunland Park and again Anapra, where there was that art installation, again, a few years ago, our art kind of in air quotes here to make your own determination of it, of someone putting in seesaws right in between the slats on the border fence. Were taken down within at least a week. Now, don't quite recall that timeline, but so there has been some in that area. But again, the foothills of Mount Cristo Rey is the one of the bigger issues facing that whole area, but that's at least part of it. And also Texas, article headline from the Texas Tribune on this issue: Texas sues to stop Border Patrol agents from cutting state's razor wire at the border. We've heard at least some of the policies. And one picture actually at the top of that article from the Texas Tribune about how if there is particularly someone in distress or someone needing to be removed from the immediate area, because you got to remember one particular thing, that's the boundary, the international boundary that exists between the U.S. and Mexico, and when the Rio Grande is concerned, is the middle of the channel, meaning that someone that has crossed the middle of the channel is therefore in U.S. territory, subject to U.S. laws, etc., and responses from it. So particularly if they also end up then on the shore or anywhere near it. So, yeah, that's at least one of the aspects of the ongoing state-federal conflict with it here. And so, okay, one final thing to mention on this whole part of it, despite there being a whole lot more focus on, yes, the Middle East issues, funding for that, the speech that was given from the Oval Office in recent weeks by President Biden when it comes to the funding request. Part of that was, it's kind of been overlooked, except maybe in our area, on $14 billion in additional border and immigration funding from being sought by the Biden administration. That part of the headline there from local nonprofit reporting concern El Paso Matters, specifically talking about referencing what then coming down from that, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has said, quote, "The request we have made of Congress today provides critically needed funding to equip the Department of Homeland Security with the people and tools it needs to prevent cartels from moving fentanyl through our ports of entry and to enforce our immigration laws in an orderly and effective way. At this time of unprecedented hemispheric and global challenges, we must come together to strengthen our ability to protect the American people." And so some of the items, again, noted by El Paso Matters, under that part of the request for additional border security funding, hiring an additional 1,300 Border Patrol agents and 1,000 officers for cuts for CBP, 1,600 asylum officers and support staff, additional detention space, hiring 375 new immigration judges and 1,400, nearly 1,500 additional attorneys and support staff, and $1.4 billion in additional funding for local governments and nonprofits that provide temporary assistance. So that would, among other things, have a lot of impact in our area whenever it comes to particularly some of those reinforcements and reimbursements possible there. So those are a few of the things going on and affecting us here in the borderland. But let's go and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, there's even more going on, particularly when it comes to the state and other parts of this and other law enforcement issues, including Well, not even just that. The states, we got that election coming up. We're actually in it right now, y'all. Early voting having started yesterday, but we'll talk about that and a whole lot more after this break. You're, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. A whole lot more to get into, and a whole lot more we'll start talking about, including, those kerfuffles at the state level. Never going to get through that, it feels like, at this point. After this break, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute. Maser Security Alarms, providing safety, security, and peace of mind for more than 40 years. Yeah, that's right. They've got a whole lot of experience, and that's why you really need to trust the experts when it comes to having licensed and experienced install techs because, again, safety, security, peace of mind, there's not much of a price tag that you could put on that conceptually, and yet they've got great and valuable options for you to consider there, including the $0 down options and low monthly payments are available. No job is too large or too small for them, including protecting our offices here with their brand new security systems. And if you want to find out what options they can bring for you, you again want to give them a call and make sure to ask about that $690 discount by calling 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. Maser Security Alarms.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello everyone, this is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 27-year-old man has been arrested in connection to the stabbing of a woman in Gañutillo. Rogelio Jose Jaques was arrested last week on Thursday in connection to a stabbing that happened on September 22nd. According to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the victim suffered life-threatening injuries. Jaques has been charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and resisting arrest. He was being held on a $250,000 bond. A man convicted of causing a deadly hit-and-run crash near Chaparral has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Patrick James Woods pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of a crash that killed 2 people last January. Technically, Woods pleaded guilty last week to 2 counts of homicide by vehicle, along with other charges, including evading arrest and having open containers of alcohol. He was sentenced yesterday in a Las Cruces courtroom. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash on southbound Airway at Montana is blocking 2 right lanes and causing stop-and-go traffic back to Boeing. Police and medical on the scene there. I-10 eastbound at Copia, 2 vehicles off on the left shoulder, slowing traffic. 10-minute delays northbound on the Loop in the East Valley, Loop 375 between Montana and the Spur. I-10 eastbound has 25-minute delays from Vinton down to Artcraft. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Showers and storms will be on the decrease as we work our way through the overnight. We will still see about a 20% chance of a shower or storm for our Wednesday. Cooler tomorrow, high around 74 degrees. As we look to your Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies on Thursday. Start to warm things back up a little, high around 80 degrees. And we'll see mostly sunny skies for your Friday with a high around 83. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. As the leaves change, leave the hiring to Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Is your old car really scary? Does it smell dreadful? And run awful?
Wake up! El Paso, the nightmare is over. Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We'll take your scary old trade, even if you owe thousands more than what it's worth. So you can upgrade to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for less.
Plus, during Ram Power Days, get 0% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Bighorn Crew Cab trucks. 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and Jeep Grand Cherokee take 10% off MSRP and $3,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Worried that your credit will make your car buying scary? Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat has partnered with even more lenders that will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Save thousands in only minutes at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. $13.89 per thousand finance includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
The local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else. Turn to Talk El Paso weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Hey, if you're thinking of getting the latest iPhone, you need to stop and check out the wireless offer from Boost Infinite. For more, just pick up your phone and dial pound 250 and say Boost Infinite. That's pound 250 and Boost Infinite. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text message from this station's network.
This report is sponsored by Boost Infinite.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in. However you may be doing so, being on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. It's Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Find it under either on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. Checking in on that National Weather Service radar actually recently, and we got a whole lot more storms coming in, y'all. So just stay safe out on those roadways, coming primarily from the south, which is interesting. Not the usual way it ends up coming through, but it looks like for that reason it's going to impact both parts of town. So just stay safe, keep a weather eye, no pun intended, on the horizon and on the road in front of you here. So if anything is being considered controversial or upsetting to you, just remember to keep the hands on that wheel, because we have a lot more to talk about here as we try to make up for a little bit more of lost time here. But talking about some of the things going on, we got those elections, y'all. We are currently, again, in the midst of the uniform and special election for November of 2023, which does include specifically for, everywhere on the Texas side of our listening area, those, I forget the number of it again. It's 14 constitutional amendments here, so there's a lot of them on there, and there's a lot of breakdowns, including from El Paso Matters and other reporting in the area, including from El Paso Inc., among other things. So it is a good idea to check out what is on it there. So let me look at the actual number of the propositions again. 14. Yeah, it is 14 overall. So you want to see some of the breakdown of it again. El Paso Matters, El Paso Inc., Texas Tribune all have breakdowns of it. Two of the ones that I would say easily have maybe the most bang for the buck on it, or at least the most focus that exists on it. Proposition number 4, which was the the special session House bill number 2, and that one is read. The constitutional amendment to authorize the legislature to establish a temporary limit on the maximum appraised value of real property other than a resident's homestead for ad valorem tax purposes, to increase the amount of exemption from ad valorem taxation by a school district applicable to residents' homesteads from $40,000 to $100,000, and it goes on for another couple of paragraphs that way. So, but that's the real, eye-catching part of it, that increase in the homestead exemptions, more than doubling it, though it does have, again, somewhat of a limit. Again, that temporary limit based on if there's going to be continued funding allocated from the legislature. If you really want to get down to brass tacks with it, by increasing that homestead exemption, basically what the legislature said is that, we'll take it off the property tax rolls and take it up from the general revenue rolls that come from the state of Texas, which you might think isn't that just a balance sheet switch? But the argument there is effectively that, yes, it is taxpayer money, and school districts should be getting technically maybe a little bit more than they were previously, but that's more to get in line with what funding levels have risen to become, is making it so that it's no longer just straight on the property owners in the area, because it has continuously been noted that Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the country, which happens when you don't have any other state revenue or even local agency revenue generation. And so, the package would send $7.1 billion to school districts and basically make it so that they have to see a lowering in that of the commiserate amount. So that's one of the biggest ones. There is also one that involves specifically the city of El Paso, a couple of municipalities, or technically counties mentioned among other of these types of things. So if you want to check out the full list and the ideas or analysis behind them, again, El Paso Matters, El Paso Inc., and a few other reporting concerns in and around the region do end up mentioning it on there. But let's talk a little bit more about some of those other things going on, particularly, legislatures in general, whether it be in Texas or nationally, not having a great time of it lately, among other things. Do note that, and part of the kerfuffle between the leadership of the, again, respective House and Senate in Texas, that Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor, and therefore in his position as President of the Texas Senate, has agreed to use a $3 million donation from Defend Texas to buy Israeli bonds, as noted by the Texas Tribune, among other reporting outlets on this here, coming 2 weeks after the PAC's leader met with a let's just not sugarcoat it, neo-Nazi. Dude seriously actually likes Hitler and espouses him. So I guess that there have been calls for him to return it, and his then resulting calls from Dan Patrick, that is, to people telling him to return it, calling him, using it for political gain, and therefore to that they should resign, notably, among other things, calling that to the Speaker of the House. Just total anti-Kumbaya moment, y'all. So Patrick saying now in his statement that the GOP must root out anti-Semitism. So that's one of the things going on, and part of the kerfuffle surrounding the state legislature, among other things, there is the weighing of, again, quoting from the Texas Tribune, their article title here, Texas lawmakers weigh spending $1.5 billion on more border barriers. Again, this is just from the state legislature on this, going through the actual Operation Lone Star type of things, with the House Appropriations Committee passing House Bill 6. So that one is more possible and would fund 50 miles of new barriers along the Texas-Mexico border, though, of course, the House has also been doing a little bit of jockeying for position when it comes to those, again, education funding amounts. Their bill they have passed in response to what the Senate has already been running through would be making educational savings accounts available to 25,000 Texas students. Given the fact that the governor has been looking at and wanting more in the millions of coverage, or at least hundreds of thousands, his office has already called this one lacking. So not going to hold my breath on that one at this particular moment in time. One other thing I wanted to mention is that, had mentioned at the start here, when it comes to border security, that there actually has been an El Pasoan named as the new chief of the Border Patrol for the San Diego sector, Patricia McGurk Daniel of El Paso, and first woman to serve in that sector's history, and entered duty in 1999 and graduated at that time from the 406th session of the U.S. Border Patrol Academy. So they have a write-up on her background and a statement from her from our news partners at KFOX 14. So we'll see what ends up coming out from the Texas legislature or any other parts of it. At least one other thing I wanted to end up mentioning is that from the local, well, not legislature, but city council, is that there's a couple of interesting items that have been getting talked about from city council, including the moving forward with a city ID card program. Talking about that as a municipal ID, and some previous pictures, or most from earlier this year, about how they potentially could look. A little bit of politicking going on with that, but also an interesting statement sent from the city rep for District Number 2, Alessandra Anello, calling for, again, the unanimous approval of what they're referring to there as the Enhanced Library Card Program. Calling that for an enhancement and empowering of residents, noting that it would have 4 specific more powers, including filing of police reports, opening of a bank account, filing protective orders, and making tax payments. So serving as idea in that way. And also one other program that was interesting that hasn't been fully approved yet, but is being asked to have some more study into it. That of just from the article title from our news partners at KFOX 14, a couple of same reps involved in here. 2 El Paso city reps push $500,000 pilot program to aid low-income families. Specifically, as again referencing District 2 Representative Alessandra Anello, and also Representative Chris Canales being in favor of this, looking to find, that was the purpose of the idea, looking to find about, that $500K to assist low-income families with a $500 monthly check for an 18-month period as part of this pilot program, with Rep. Anello proposing to find the money from the ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act. And I got to say, this is not one that I was totally expecting to come up here in El Paso, because this sounds very similar to what we have heard of in other cities, of being similar to like a, well, universal basic income, universal support, those kind of things. Again, it going to the pilot would go to about 80 families would be the expectation, but that's it's an interesting one, not one that I totally expected to come around here, but given that we have heard of some wanting to see more support for, well, direct El Pasoans, I don't know. I think there could be an interesting discussion around this overall, even if I'm a little bit dubious about some of the terms of it. But that's just a couple of things going on and happening that I wanted to make sure to mention here and going on and affecting us here in the borderland region, while others letting us know that we've got some rain going on, and like some sitting up in northeast. Renato Rivera saying only seeing some light spitting in the region, and RJ saying almost forgot what rain is and the loud noise that occasionally accompanies it here. Again, we are expecting that weather today should clear up a little bit later this week, but let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll go ahead and get to those phone lines as we normally do at this point during the program. A lot of pent up, I'm sure we want to get to, so if you want to get on that line, add your 2 cents. That number to do so is, of course, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Heavy congestion on eastbound Border Highway at Zaragoza has closed the exit, and there's a 30-minute delay back to Yarborough. A crash in the Lower Valley, southbound Loop 375 at Alameda has the left lane blocked. Police still trying to clear an accident southbound Airway at Montana. Stop and go on the I-10 eastbound through downtown out to Yarborough, 20-minute delays. 30-minute delays, I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Artcraft. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Keep your family and livelihood safe with a stable security system from Mazer Security Alarms. Your trusted El Paso security expert since 1982. You can get the best. Systems start at under $35 per month with upfront purchase to lease options and $0 down payment packages available. Get the peace of mind you deserve with Mazer Security Alarms. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
It's so cool to find a space where I can talk about my daughter's ADHD.
I finally feel safe knowing other parents are going through the exact same thing.
Raising a child with ADHD or dyslexia can feel isolating, but you're not alone. Find your community on the Wonder app by understood.org. With Wonder, you can exchange tips with parents facing similar challenges and get expert advice all in one place. Some kids are wired differently, but all kids can thrive with the right support. Download Wonder today or visit understood.org/iHeart to learn more.
Cold weather will be here soon. Get your chimney and air duct system cleaned by Southwest Chimney. You'll breathe better, your system will be more efficient, and you will enjoy the warmth of the fire. Southwest Chimney sells, installs, and repairs existing fireplaces. They also sell a variety of glass doors, gas logs, and fireplace accessories. For a more efficient dryer, don't forget to have your dryer vent cleaned. Visit them at 1421 North Lee Trevino or southwestchimney.com. That's southwestchimney.com. Mention radio and get 5% off on any service.
13 Days of Halloween Penance, Season 4 of the award-winning horror fiction podcast presented in immersive 3D audio.
If I am under arrest, you have to tell me what I'm charged with.
Starring Natalie Morales of Parks and Recreation and Dead to Me.
Please, there's been some kind of mistake. I'm not supposed to be here.
How do you know?
I'm innocent.
Are any of us truly innocent?
Premiering October 19th, ending Halloween. Listen to 13 Days of Halloween on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of their everyday financing offers. Lowe's knows home improvement, subject to credit approval.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the program, particularly at this point during the show. We do have those phone lines open, full up at the moment here. I mean, it's been you miss a day, you miss a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of response to. We put out many topics just on here, and I'm sure there's more that we need to get to when it comes to all the things going on and affecting us here in the borderlands. So, again, just keep that number handy as we'll keep up with them, particularly as we get into the second hour of the program. A little bit too close to the bin to get really just as any calls here right now, so we'll take those over the top of the next hour. But again, keep that number handy, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. And I did have a question about Patriot Chick asking, I just heard the city council is trying to start a city ID program. I want to say, I recall this going back several years at this point, and this ID, the idea of it for this ID, that the city would implement it as a municipal ID program, would benefit those specifically who cannot obtain a driver's license or other state-issue IDs. So, not a necessarily local requirement. And again, the way it was being put by City Rep. Alessandra Anello as an enhanced library card. So, take it as you will, but again, it would be free and funded from the adopted budget for the current fiscal year. That was at least part of the problem, or at least concern over that, again, pilot program on the other side of things when it comes to, again, it sounds close enough to me as a universal basic income, but I don't think it's actually being referred to that way, of a pilot program to assist low-income families. I don't know. It sounds a lot like UBI to me. In any case, that one specifically, even though there were some, I wanted to look at it from our news partners at KFOX 14, speaking with District 1 City Rep. Brian Kennedy, saying he's in favor of it because the budget's already done, basically saying, quote, the budget is all done. We're finishing our second month of the budget, and to go find $500,000, I have a concern with that, and I also have a concern about the effectiveness. Also concerned that it would be taken away from what is already approved instead to fund the pilot program. So, there's... And just to make it clear, I know that some people have issues with the way politicians fund themselves here. Leonidas Bermuda saying specifically, City Council needs to stop giving itself a pay raise before worrying about IDs. You might be conflating the city and the county on that one, just to be fair on this. City Council, it used to be that we had to prove every one of their pay raises, and surprise, surprise, it didn't happen that often. Now it is pegged to the average median household income in El Paso, which I want to say is in the 40s as of last check. I'll need to double check on that one. So, I mean, it is still a bit more than the average person in El Paso makes, because as an individual, representative, they are making what is a whole household income, but also there is that I think the mayor makes 1.5 times that, give or take. So, but yes, the county commissioners, they do approve their own pay raises, and that has been at least a part of the conversation that has happened on recently. So don't forget that there are the couple different levels of government that have a lot of local, they all have a lot of local impact, but of the ones locally based anyway, among other things, including also the conversation about the rain going on and the sirens coming. Some people already saying that they're hearing a lot of them, including RJ putting it, standard operating procedure, 1, rain, 2, sirens headed for first accident. Okay, so this might be more of a theory than anything else, but Leonidas Bermuda, I can understand you being unhappy with the way that is. But I've heard a theory that the reason that our region's drivers seem to suck so much whenever we have, 2 raindrops on the road, that actually, since we are so dry otherwise, the pavement basically has this layer of oil on it from, just all tire and vehicle related activities, and that when it rains a little bit, it causes that to rise just a little bit, because, oil and water don't mix, oil floats, etc., and therefore it gets slicker when it's only rained a little bit as opposed to washing away the rest of it. I don't know if I totally buy that, and I'm not trying to justify why we seem to have some very bad drivers on the road around here, but I don't know. It's a theory. Let me know what you all think. In any case, need to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will get to those phone lines and those calls. So again, if you want to get on once we get a line available, still full up, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. Back after the break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy congestion on eastbound border highway at Zaragoza has closed the exit, and there's a 30-minute delay back to Yarborough. A crash in the lower valley, southbound Loop 375 at Alameda has the left lane blocked. Police still trying to clear an accident southbound Airway at Montana. Stop and go on the I-10 eastbound through downtown out to Yarborough, 20-minute delays, 30-minute delays. I-10 eastbound Vinton down to Artcraft. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Is your old car really scary? Does it smell dreadful? And run awful?
Wake up! El Paso, the nightmare is over. Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We'll take your scary old trade, even if you owe thousands more than what it's worth. So you can upgrade to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for less.
Plus, during Ram Power Days, get 0% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Bighorn Crew Cab trucks. 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and Jeep Grand Cherokee take 10% off MSRP and $3,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Worried that your credit will make your car buying scary? Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat has partnered with even more lenders that will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Save thousands in only minutes at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. $13.89 per thousand finance includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The war between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas is in its 18th day. CNN reports there are intensive talks ongoing to free a large number of hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. Meantime, the U.S. is warning Iran against escalating the war.
Iran has supported Hamas and other groups that continue to carry out attacks on Israel.
While addressing the UN Security Council today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. will respond decisively if Iran or its proxies carry out attacks on U.S. personnel in the Middle East. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer is dropping out of the Speaker race just hours after being nominated. The Minnesota Republican failed to rally the necessary support from his own party as more than 24 Republicans opposed his bid for the Speaker's gavel. The off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot who's accused of trying to shut down the engines on a Horizon Airlines flight has been charged in a Portland court. Joseph Emerson faces over 160 charges, including 83 counts of attempted murder. His attorney entered pleas of not guilty to all of the charges. Emerson will also be charged in federal court for interfering with a flight crew. Car payments are at the highest rates in decades. Lisa Taylor has the details.
More than 6% of subprime borrowers with lower credit scores and higher interest rates were more than 60 days past due on their auto loans in September. That's according to Fitch Ratings. It's the highest delinquency rate in Fitch's data over nearly 30 years. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Elon Musk thinks a World War III is possible. The billionaire said in a talk on his social media platform X that the war between Israel and Hamas, along with Russia's continued war in Ukraine, raises the potential of a third world war. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A group of Senate Republicans is urging President Biden to expand construction of the border wall. That has the support of sheriffs in South Texas.
It's not a red issue or a blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue.
Sheriff Ray Del Bosque of Zapata County says the wall would cut down on the so-called gotaways. They've been trampling through Texas ranches, putting residents on edge. A New Jersey couple is suing Panera Bread 1 month after their college-age daughter died after consuming an apparent caffeinated energy drink. Sarah Katz, who was a student at the University of Pennsylvania, died in early September after being rushed to the hospital in cardiac arrest. The 21-year-old, who earlier had drank a Panera-charged lemonade from a store in Philly, had lived with a medical condition where high caffeine levels triggered life-threatening, irregular heartbeats. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's administration is launching a new online reproductive health information hub. Scott Pringle has more.
Governor Murphy says the new website will provide an overview of reproductive rights in New Jersey and clarity on coverage options.
This new hub will help connect you with healthcare providers throughout the state, whether you need an abortion, a cancer screening, birth control, or any other form of reproductive health care.
Meanwhile, Murphy says for the second straight year, his administration is going to be providing millions of dollars in grants and forgivable loans to family planning clinics for renovations and new medical equipment.
Lil Wayne is investing in the sport of pickleball. He's the latest co-owner of an Austin-based team called the Texas Ranchers. The Grammy winner joins golfers Scotty Scheffler, Cowboys star Micah Parsons, and jewelry designer Kendra Scott, who are also investors. In a statement, the rap star says he's enjoyed watching the sport and couldn't pass up the opportunity to join this team of owners. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Dollar. That's dollar. Enter it now.
Now, you can relive the greatest moments from our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Lenny Kravitz kicks things off with his biggest hits.
Foo Fighters get the whole crowd singing along.
Tim McGraw debuts his new song live.
Public Enemy brings the 90s hip-hop energy.
Fall Out Boy covers a classic while literally on fire. And so much more.
Relive the greatest moments from our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming now only on Hulu for a limited time.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Because you never hear this.
Hey, hon, I'm late.
Chris, I am so pleased you missed the beginning of our meeting.
Thanks for making me wait, Dad. I talked to a lot of strangers.
Check on your commute. Stay informed. Traffic and weather all day. Or you might never hear the end of it.
Well, you were late to our anniversary dinner that one time.
Yes, how could I forget?
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest men's grooming destination with your comfort and privacy in mind, and where your favorite brew, spirit, or mixed drink will be waiting for you along with every cut, shave, manicure, or pedicure visit. Open daily at the fountains at Farrah, Hammer and Nails offers world-class luxury experiences without the pretentious price tag. Visit Hammer and Nails Grooming Shop for Guys online at hammerandnailsgrooming.com to book your next experience. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station.
Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Why is iHeartRadio the #1 streaming radio app? Free music.
Free live radio stations from all over the country.
Free podcasts.
Free playlists.
Free contests. Free artist radio stations.
Commercial-free stations. It's free. I love iHeartRadio. Join the millions of music, radio, and podcast fans on the #1 streaming radio app now.
iHeartRadio.
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 Free never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot to do, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about, and of course a lot of ways to get at us on the program. Phone lines open if full up again at the moment. 915-544-5876-544 KTSM is the number to get at us there if you want to. And a lot of comments coming in, including James Holmes buying that theory about the oil on the road, saying that is true, but still bad drivers. So, I mean, okay, if you want to take it that way. Again, it's not meant as a defense of the drivers here, though. Renato Rivera taking it another way, saying, stop using cheap products for street repairs. That's why the street gets slippery. Still no excuse for driving 2 miles per hour. That's not safe driving. It's hazardous. I mean, sure, too much speed is a bad thing, but there's a reason on the highway they do have a minimum speed. Because if you're doing much under that, it's not just an inconvenience. Like, seriously, someone doing like the regular speed could then really come up on it and cause issues. Also, like, take it in the vein of the reason they have certain requirements to get on the highway, including nothing under, 2 horsepower or something like that, and no vehicle drawn or human-only powered type things. And yeah, to Leonardo Bermuda saying a drop of rain terrorizes this place, didn't even bother to get dinner to escape all of the nut jobs. And RJ saying that he is going to get his dinner regardless of living dangerously with it. So yeah, I'm not saying to do that yourself, but just be safe out there and make sure to keep a weather eye on everyone else on the roadways, because that's how it ends up working. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, 915-544-5876. 544-KTSM is the number to call. And we do have Ben on the east side on the line with us here right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm reading about this proposed guaranteed income program in El Paso Matters. It seems like, it was brought up by Representative Chris Canales of District 8 and District 2 Representative Alexandra Anello.
Sure. And
it was voted against by District Brian Kennedy. I think people should know about that. Basically, it's about guaranteed income without restrictions on how to use the cash. In other words, we're just going to give people $500 a month for over a year to improve their way of life. I don't know. It could. Can we go out and buy a TV with it?
Yes.
That's one of the
Do I
things
understand?
that, they don't say anything about it. And you mentioned that it was supposed to be, according to city council representatives, it was originally planned to fund the cash assistance program with $500,000 from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act.
Yeah, that was
Congress passed in 2021 in response to the pandemic. So, according to this, though, El Paso City's government received around $150 million of ARPA funds, but all that money has been directed to other programs or projects. The final bit of the federal funds were used to purchase Moorhead Middle School and convert it into a migrant shelter. So we've already spent all the money that the federal government has given us, and now we're going to, just out of the goodness of our heart, give people $500 out of our pockets, with no restrictions.
I mean, that's the idea behind it, and that's why it's not being referred to as such, at least in the city.
Is that a good idea behind it there, Andrew?
Well, so, I mean, it sounds to me very much like what other cities have put forth, and yeah, El Paso Matters does end up referencing a few other ones, like, I want to say, Harris County, yeah, what they were looking at. It sounds very much like a UBI, or Universal Basic Income, and just to make it clear, City Council did not vote on this moving forward. There was only those 2 reps you mentioned ending up supporting it, so
they're going to bring it up again.
Yeah, that's reasonable to expect.
In the article, they're going to bring it up again.
Yeah, no, certainly. But just to make it clear for anyone listening to be not confused here, this is not currently happening, but it is being discussed. So that's the reason we brought it up.
Okay. Now, you bring up Harris County Commissioners Court. They voted in June to give $500 each month for 18 months up to 1,500 families living below the federal poverty level. Well, last I heard that Harris County has a lot of people, a lot of rich people, and they, they're not one of the poorest cities in the United States.
True. And I mean, that is a reasonable question to ask about, okay, if this money can't come from, the ARPA funds, which were never going to be permanent anyway. And I mean, sure, there's the idea about this being a pilot program and the idea of it being tried out still raises, I mean, okay, so when it comes to the idea of universal basic income overall, no one's really been able to justify to me, and of course there's been a bunch of different ways it's been suggested or even trialed in other cities across the country about how, the balance sheet fully works out overall. Are we basically just doing a tax rebate for those that are ending up receiving it, or for anyone who would, because I mean, the idea of it, for again, the important part of the whole universal basic income idea of it being universal. So this doesn't quite meet that level. I mean, we're talking about, the Harris County was 1,500 families. The one here in this area would be 80 families. So by no means truly getting that universal part of it. And they're, again, not calling it that, though it sounds like it's going towards it. The question is, if it does go towards everyone, is that then just a rebate on their portion of the taxes if they're in those brackets that are then paying them? And where does that end up coming from in the long term? So there are questions I have about how it works out.
It says the city of El Paso will be doling out $500 in cash every month to these people, and they have to find $500,000 out of our budget to fund the program. So everything you just said is wrong. It's a matter that they are actually giving this money to these people, not through tax rebates or anything like that. They're taking it out of our budget, the money that we put in through our taxes.
Correct. So if it's coming out of the taxes, if it's, again, this would be going towards the 80 right now, who I'm assuming would be at the levels of which they are not paying that. But even though there's then the whole argument about even if they are, say, renting and not owning, and therefore not paying the property tax necessarily, they still end up paying it through the way rent increases and all that kind of thing. So it kind of a question is if this was truly, because this is put forth as a pilot program, right? This idea of it starting at 80 would not be the way it would continue.
$500,000 out of our budget.
Yeah.
It's a pilot program, but if they institute it, it's going to go for a year, and it's going to cost us $500,000.
Correct. What I was talking about was then the pilot nature of it. What would happen if this were to go forward and then it to be expanded and getting towards, again, what I've been reading up previously on the truly universal part of it here? What would that mean for everyone in the region? And therefore, of it basically being like, okay, if you pay your taxes, then you get some of it back. So no, not a direct tax rebate, but effectively being that for those that are in those particularly, higher tax brackets or higher property tax brackets in our area. It's just, I have some dubious questions I've not had ever sufficiently explained to me, or in the research I've done on it, answered to about how would this work if it were to be more broadly applied, even what we're talking about here. So I'm talking about the next step beyond what this initial proposal is coming from.
Well, let's not go. I mean, are you for this? Do you think this is a good idea to give people without restrictions?
Again, I have some misgivings. That's the part I was getting at there about if this, how does the balance sheet end up working out? Now, some of the proponents have talked about, again, the idea of universal basic income, of which one, at least previously, I'm not quite sure of his current standpoint on it, Elon Musk, was the idea of if, increase, mechanization, automation, no longer needing humans, how do you still have humans be able to support themselves kind of thing? So he has at least expressed some support of things along those lines previously. But again, I have those misgivings on the way it ends up working out, because if it is, then it's just a tax rebate. Okay, it ends up becoming something where you pay money into it and then you pay money back out of it, particularly if you end up getting taxed on it. Does that make a level of sense? But if it is something where, okay, then essentially you're no longer paying taxes or property taxes, does that mean that then all of that, because you particularly, to local level, you can't, issue debt or do those things in significant ways? Like, I mean, sure, you can put forth bonds, but if you're I don't think that would work in this way, because those have to go towards specific projects. Does it then just mean that there are then higher taxes on those outside of those brackets, or on outside of things of people wanting to bring businesses or, relocate to this area? So I would say in general, I'm very dubious about the idea of it. And I'm kind of surprised it came up in El Paso, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I am too. And wouldn't it be, okay, I've got two questions for you. Wouldn't it be better maybe if you're going to give away our money and everything, why don't we give it to El Paso Fighting Hunger? If we want to, get it to where people are actually getting food that they need to live on, wouldn't that be better than to just give them $500 to spend any way they want?
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you on here, but that's kind of why I'm saying even if it's not being called that.
I'm not for that. Okay,
I
think charity begins at home, and you don't need to. You don't need government to give that to. And one of the reasons why I don't give as much money to charities as I used to anymore is because government gives it all away.
Okay.
And so I don't have what if government's going to take care of it, why should I have to? Why do I even want to? It really does. It takes away my charitable thoughts. And that's really, and that's one thing I really hate about government. It takes away my humanity, and I fight it every day to not do that. In other words, to give to my neighbors and to give to El Paso Fighting Hunger. But when they start just giving away my money, it gets real old real quick, and it takes away from my charitable my feelings, and I think it takes away from a lot of people. If somebody let the government do it. That's not I don't have to take responsibility. All the liberals out there, the government will take care of it. Doesn't take any money out of my pocket.
I mean, yeah, and again, the current way it's being proposed here, it was becoming $500,000 out of the local budget. Now, whether that was the ARPA funds, but like you said, that is pretty accurate. They have all been pretty much accounted for, and that was why there was only the 2 members on City Council that supported it at this point. The other ones, again, Brian Kennedy being the one cited from both our news partners at KFOX 14, as well as in that El Paso Matters reporting about it as all, saying that there is no more ARPA funding. In his interview with El Paso Matters, there is that part is gone. So finding it in the budget seems a little bit dubious, or at the very least wondering how that'll work out at this point. And yes, you are correct when you said that it would also be brought up again, looking for the specific site sourcing of it, but it's expected to be brought up again on the agenda in November. So yeah, the discussion certainly continues on of it here, even if not in place at the moment. And I'm very curious to see how council support ends up actually working out for this item.
One last point. The article that I'm reading is from October 22nd, and I haven't heard anything about it on local news or anything. And the city council was talking about this pilot program on October 10th. Are they trying to get this put this under a rug or something?
I'm not going to try to ascribe motivations to this. I will say that our news partners at KFOX 14, it was part of their newscast yesterday. We weren't on air and talking about it directly, so it has been getting some mention, particularly as City Council has been seeing more direct concern or actual action or votes around it. So, I mean, it has been being talked about.
It's October 10th is when they brought this up. Now we're first hearing about it. Where's the local news on these things? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, that's enough. Stay well, stay safe. God bless, and let's go, Brandon.
All right. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
I'll just say this, that yes, on the idea of it going towards specific things, that, okay, it is referenced in the El Paso Matters reporting on this issue as being a universal basic assistance. And again, there's been a bunch of different ways I've seen similar type of programs, or even from nonprofits. El Paso Matters does also mention that a local donation for the Hunt Family Foundation did some similar-ish type of things, but mostly just through direct assistance, but particularly for those that weren't able to receive government assistance, and that an organization Up Together provided $29 million in cash assistance last year to over 10,000 people in 32 cities. And El Paso Matters did interview them as part of this as well. But when it gets to the idea of, again, universal basic income, the idea is that of making sure that, again, the way the proponents discuss it anyway, is of making sure that everyone, regardless of what they have, has a basic level of support. So universal basic support or general basic support, there's a bunch of different ways, and what's the way they end up referring to it as part of this? I just had the quote, but I'm missing it at the moment. In any case, the idea of it is, again, been debated for some years now at this point. Like Anala says, it's not a handout, but an investment in the future of these residents. But again, Ben was correct in that this does not come with any kind of, like, it is just given to people, and they can spend it as they need or as they want or as they see fit. So if it was to be expanded behind there, I do have questions about, okay, how does the balance sheet end up working out? Because if we're giving money to everyone, does that mean that it's effectively a tax on those outside of that level because they end up paying more? And therefore for those in like the middle income brackets who that is approaching like what they would be paying in property taxes, particularly to the city, is it effectively just a tax rebate to them? There was one question that came in specifically, Leonidas Bermuda, asking, wait, so if you rent, may still pay property tax but under a different name and avenue? Hope I'm misunderstanding. Kind of. You are not having a separate government program on you, but if you think that any landlord is not passing on any changes in their property taxes onto those that are renting from them here, I have several bridges to sell you, including some and definitely some beachfront real estate right in our local area. Those weather warnings notwithstanding in our area. So more about the pass-through and how certain material end up rolling downhill. Let's just put it that way. In any case, let's go and get that next break right now and get back to those phone lines. So if you want to get on that line, okay, that line that just ended up opening up. It just got filled up again right now. So stay on the line if you're there. But if you want to get on the line, again, once one call ends, another line becomes available. And the number to do so is 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Eastbound and Border Highway, heavy congestion with traffic backed up all the way from Zaragoza where the exit's blocked. Southbound Americas Avenue at Pan American, an accident's blocking the right lane causing delays. I-10 eastbound is slow, Cotton to Yarborough, 15-minute delays. Earlier crash southbound Airway at Montana still hasn't been cleared. I-10 eastbound at Vinton, down to Artcraft, 45-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
These days, high prices are forcing Americans to make hard decisions.
Do I buy the toothpaste or the toilet paper?
We have a better way. Inflation compensation. $1,000 price bustin' prize. Be listening for your shot to win a grand.
Inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM is brought to you by Mazer Security Systems, providing El Pasoans state-of-the-art protection and peace of mind for more than 30 years.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Exergen thermometers are proven to be more accurate than non-contact thermometers. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Clinical studies have proven that non-contact thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at many fine retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters. Available at Walmart and participating retailers. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in over there, adding their 2 cents, along with, of course, those phone lines pull up at the moment, but we'll keep checking in on those and also dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate over on the social media, including Amber Banda, Amos Lara, Ana Rueda, RJ, Ida Beza Gardner, James Holmes, and Sean Gardner. A lot of conversation going on there, including Trita Sack over on the YouTube saying renters always want to stick it to the evil landlord by voting for bonds to increase taxes. They just don't get it or obtuse. Just a rewatch of part of Shawshank Redemption myself here, so I appreciate the phrase, saying, going on to say also, the renters pay for that added tax burden the landlord shoulders, because, yeah, it's never just going to be like well, the prices have gone up, here we're paying more for this rental accommodation we're offering, but no, we're just going to keep it the same. That's not how it works. Maybe in the short term, or in places where, like, rent control exists, which, to my knowledge, has nothing to do with it here. I guess one thing that has been being considered, at least pushed off for now by City Council, was also any more action being considered on those short-term rentals, the Airbnb, Vrbo, or whatever company we're talking about. Airbnb probably the most popular way to phrase it. It's almost become, it's practically been verbed at this point, but in any case, which is maybe why Vrbo exists. But in any case, whatever company we're talking about, the basically residential being rented out as an accommodation, but not as a full rental lease or whatever have you. There was some things being talked about that. And again, appreciate the reference there, Trita Sack. And so there was some regulation being talked about that, but City Council has stepped away from that for the moment and looking at otherwise maybe more voluntary regulation and programs within the city limits kind of things here. But other conversation when it comes to that, again, that UBI discussion, including Eric von Holstein-Rathlow saying a UBI has never had lasting benefits. They work in the short term, but never in the long term. And RJ also saying they want to treat us like teenagers and give us our allowance and control our behavior. And also the idea of pass it on can't escape people. So, and other conversation, including Patriot Chick over on the YouTube saying City Council loves spending taxpayer money, and just a lot of other conversation. If you want to jump in over there, more than welcome to. But let's get back to those phone lines here right now. Again, 915-544-5876. We do have Raul in the Northeastern line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Friday, you got a call from another Raul from Northeast, whose violent rhetoric and veiled threats frightened my wife. He was predicting lynchings and talked about making note of people's addresses. Raul, my wife was at Cielo Vista Mall when a Trumper terrorist killed 23 people at the adjacent Walmart. We know people who were killed there. Anyway, Raul started out by saying presidents come and go, that all former presidents have gone away. Obama went away. Bush went away. But not the constants of Eric and me criticizing Trump. Now, clueless Raul said that Trump is gone. Hey, Raul, the boy won't go away. Don't tell traitor Trump is running for president, S.A. Watch the news sometime, S.A. Trump is on regularly, and he's the leading contender for winning the Republican presidential nomination. Didn't you know that, S.A.? Hey, and Raul, because Trump is running for president and because of all his legal woes, 4 federal and state criminal indictments with 91 felony charges, and those of his co-conspirators and co-defendants and their criminal trials, he's going to be in the news regularly. In fact, today, Trump was in court in his New York fraud suit, where he faced his former personal attorney of 10 years, Michael Cohen, who was testifying on behalf of the prosecution.
And again, we trust our national news partners to talk about the nationally important news. But, okay, anything else specific you're wanting to say to? Again, you want to respond to that caller about who was talking about locally. Though I will also note, he was not totally satisfied with the conversation that you and I have had in years past, but also of others on. It basically was calling out the extremes, if you want to take it that way. And certainly did mention yourself, so more than reasonable to respond back to him here. But on the local aspects, he did add that, no, not calling for violence, though I would not totally agree with the way he ended up putting it forth, because, again, anyone calling for political violence has lost just a whole lot of legitimacy here on that point. But in response to him, anything else you'd like to say that isn't totally into Friday territory?
Oh, yeah, I want a full opportunity to respond to what he said about me. Okay,
sure.
Andrew? Raul was also projecting his testes on his mind with his vulgar talk of testes, which you entertained, which, like you failed to cut Marco Vermeer off when he used the AH word, which the national talk radio host that I listen to immediately drop callers when callers use such vulgarity. Hey, Raul, talking about testes, Trump is el puto de Putin, huh?
Okay, and let's just make it clear that using swear words in other language is also not allowed in here. So if you're going to try to slip that one past here, again, we reviewed the tape, did not come through clearly on Friday here, but if you're upset about it here, just know that, swearing in other languages doesn't end up being okay, because if you look at also what those federal standards are, it comes down to what is the local standards on it. And given that we have a large, this is an English language station. We talk about things primarily in English. We may have occasional phrases or things coming out in Spanish, but if you're going to insist on it, and again, we probably were towing the line there a little bit, I will admit, because we weren't doing totally clinical talk here, but we weren't using extreme vulgarities, at least in the best estimation we have. Again, anyone referring to orifices or specifically genitalia in specific, and I do have to note the irony of referring to someone's use of that language by then using the language yourself as being unhappy about it, as certain pots calling other kitchen utensils the same color. In any case, point is that, swearing is certainly not allowed, and doing it just in a different language is not there. So if you're wanting to try that here, consider yourself in timeout for the week for trying to get that one going through here. Come on, dude. In any case, let's go ahead and take that next break right now because, let's just try to reframe and get back to it. I appreciated the idea of the conversation about people at the extremes, because, again, that was part of my takeaway from it on that caller being referred to there. And if you didn't like the way referred to here, you're welcome to respond to it. But by saying, hey, they were vulgar, so I'm going to be more vulgar, we just need you to think about that for a second more here. In any case, taking that break, want to get on the line. Okay, that one just filled up already, but if you want to try again, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello everyone, this is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 27-year-old man has been arrested in connection to the stabbing of a woman in Cañutillo. Rogelio Jose Jaques was arrested last week on Thursday in connection to a stabbing that happened on September 22nd. According to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the victim suffered life-threatening injuries. Jaques has been charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and resisting arrest. He was being held on a $250,000 bond. A man convicted of causing a deadly hit-and-run crash near Chaparral has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Patrick James Woods pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of a crash that killed 2 people last January. Technically, Woods pleaded guilty last week to 2 counts of homicide by vehicle, along with other charges, including evading arrest and having open containers of alcohol. He was sentenced yesterday in a Las Cruces courtroom. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash on I-10 eastbound in the Upper Valley at Arcraft is blocking the center lane. That's basically the only lane open. 40-minute delays. Traffic stop and go in the Lower Valley eastbound border highway from Stanton downtown all the way out to Zaragoza where the exit's closed. 30-minute delays. Stop and go I-10 all the way through downtown out to Yarborough. It's a 30-minute delay. Accident in the Lower Valley southbound America's Avenue at Pan American blocking the right lane. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Showers and storms will be on the decrease as we work our way through the overnight. We will still see about a 20% chance of a shower or storm for our Wednesday. Cooler tomorrow, high around 74 degrees. As we look to your Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies on Thursday. Start to warm things back up a little, high around 80 degrees. And we'll see mostly sunny skies for your Friday with a high around 83. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Since 2010, Blindster has sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters to satisfied customers across the country with 20,000 five-star reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Custom blinds at low prices and free shipping. Blindster.com.
Is your old car really scary? Does it smell dreadful? And run awful?
Wake up! El Paso, the nightmare is over. Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We'll take your scary old trade, even if you owe thousands more than what it's worth. So you can upgrade to a new or certified pre-owned vehicle for less.
Plus, during Ram Power Days, get 0% APR for 72 months on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Bighorn Crew Cab trucks. 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks and Jeep Grand Cherokee take 10% off MSRP and $3,500 off MSRP on 2023 Dodge Charger and Challenger. Worried that your credit will make your car buying scary? Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat has partnered with even more lenders that will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. Save thousands in only minutes at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. $1,389 per thousand finance includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. Also like vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and superior protection. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033.
Fall into a hiring spree with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and yeah, a lot of conversation around how we talk about things. So again, to make it perfectly clear, when it comes down to profanity, it comes down to community violation. So actually the when it is actually coming down to what the words are, there's not like a list of these are banned, except, well, certain outlets may end up doing it. Don't think we actually have one, but it actually, if you need it, if you have any questions about it, see that old George Carlin bit about the 7 deadly words, something along those lines, the actual title of it, which actually, interesting enough, becomes part of the case law, because it was his prodding on that. The late, great George Carlin actually ended up becoming part of the Supreme Court case around profanity and obscenity. Again, there's some of those phrases like, you know it when I see it, which is why maybe I had too much leeway with phrases approaching it, including a-hole, something like that. So I think we're just going to go away from that and call that no longer kosher on this program overall and eliminate the problem entirely. But also, yeah, swearing in other languages, given that we have other languages spoken here, doesn't work either. In any case, back to those phone lines here. The number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, squeezing in what we can. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call, and good afternoon.
Afternoon to you as well. What's on your mind?
Yesterday, the tax statements came out. In other words, what each individual property owner will have to pay for next year.
Okay.
Yes, and I encourage everybody to vote for the Proposition 4 that's on the ballot, because there is a caveat on that tax bill that says that if it doesn't pass, then they will send you a revised tax bill for the difference that was reduced.
I mean, so yeah, we're talking about, that Proposition number 4, the one that is the rubber hitting the road moment of what has been part of the kerfuffle going on with the state legislature in reducing the amount that is going to be coming out. It's that more than doubling of the homestead exemption. So coming up specifically from your property taxes going towards the school districts, but by making up that amount. So it requires this, Texas constitutional amendment chicanery. Maybe chicanery is ungenerous in this point, but this change in order to make that actually work out. So it is a significant chunk of change, and I know it would significantly change part of my circumstances if it were not to go through.
Yes, and it says contingent on the approval by the voters at an election to be held November 7th, 2023. And then if the constitutional amendment proposed does not pass, you will be... a supplemental tax bill will be mailed to you. So I encourage everybody to vote. Matter of fact, did it this morning. It was really, I was the only person there this morning at Arlington Park, and I just stopped by on my way home.
Okay, well, interesting to look and see what it is there. I know that... seeing that, I sometimes go over and look at what is possible from, the El Paso County tax assessor the El Paso Central Appraisal District in this case. And so seeing what those are here, we don't have the new valuations out yet, but like you're talking about what is going to be the amount you're paying for each taxing entity in the taxing jurisdiction. And so there are some numbers already in place there, but it does look like the amounts already in for the independent school districts, in my case, EPISD for my area, that part has already been factored in. And so if it weren't to be there, that would be an adjustment coming before the end of the year, increasing that decently significantly.
Yes, so it's the 2023 El Paso Consolidated Tax Bill. Yes, so it is out. It tells you what you're going to owe, and basically, anyway, no, I'm like I say, I encourage everybody to vote if you want your tax liability to be lower this coming year.
No, absolutely. I mean, knowing what is possible, what the options are, what you qualify for, due diligence is often a very important thing, because there may be things, there are other ways of, disabled veteran status, first responder, other things that could also affect how much you end up paying. So absolutely a good idea for people to check that out, and also see what they can expect in their tax bill particularly if they're no longer in the escrow situation that as a new homeowner I am still. So it's a little bit tempting to think of it. It's already taken care of, though. It's still a chunk of change and a bite out of my behind.
True. Oh, speaking of that, the escrow holder, those that don't owe any money on their house anymore, don't have a mortgage, you can set up an account and pay throughout the year. You just go down to the third floor of the Wells Fargo building, and you can set it up there.
Yeah, there are certainly good or different ways to handle it, because it always never quite made sense to me. Someone saying, "Oh man, I got to come up with the however many thousands of dollars in taxes right now," because that could end up being a real chafing of the behind otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but anyway, Andrew, thank you for taking my call. I turn the mic back over to you.
No, sure thing. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll squeeze in the call as we can before the end of the program here. We do have with us on the line right now, right before that, I will say that one question coming in over online, Joanne's asking, when do I vote? You can vote right now. We are in that election. Early voting started yesterday, so if you want to go to, I mentioned EPCAD there to see what your taxing is. And you can even see that for any property that you even reside in, either if you know the address or things like that, you'll be able to find it here. But if you go to epcountyvotes.com, it can give you the information on what the current election is and where you can go vote. So there are early voting centers, and they do have the list of early voting locations. I want to say it's like 20 or so. Okay, no, actually 32 for this time around here. Slightly mistaken. So check out that. They've got the hours of operation. Do vary between different ones. It's not like Election Day where it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. kind of thing. So check out the different locations where you can do it. There's hopefully one close to you that you might be able to get to. So check that out again, epcountyvotes.com. But yeah, that going on early voting now through, when does early voting end? November 3rd. So keep that in mind here. Other questions coming in, including about which fiscal year are we in now? We did just transition over the fiscal year federally. I will say that because it's end of September, early October. So federally, I do believe we are in 24, fiscal year 2024, I do believe. So yeah. Keep that in mind when it comes to, because it says most fastest government work on the fiscal year starts 1st of October. Yeah, so yeah, I believe you are correct, and that's one of the reasons that the El Paso city budget has also been up for the conversation there, because we're coming into that new fiscal year. Anyway, squeezing on the calls we can. On the line, we do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
What is this much I'm hearing today? This anger, this viciousness, this disgruntlement. Raul wants to kill Marco, or Marco wants to come. What is this nonsense? What? Hey, everybody out there, listen to me. Frankie, Messiah Frankie, all you need to do is go to a bar, your favorite bar, get a beer, get a shot, put a smile on your face, and walk out the door. You'll have a wonderful life. Now, let's say, for some stupid reason, somebody knocks you off, bumps you off, kills you. At least you die with a smile on your face. What is all this anger that I'm hearing out there? That's my opening comment.
I mean, people get frustrated with things, and I'm not going to totally blame anyone for being frustrated about it, but I'll also say that if anyone has wanted to go straight towards the, as you put it, knock your block off type of mentality with it, as opposed to anything else, yeah, not something I'm in favor of, I'll put it that way. Though I will also say, I mean, for those that don't drink, there are also other ways that are taken in other countries, like, what is it, in Mexico, don't they have the ley seca once we start approaching elections on their own right? So I'm just saying that maybe they don't totally always mix that of alcohol and general tranquility of the populace, maybe?
Okay, all right. This is my shtick. But you can still go to a museum, look at fine art, and stare at a beautiful painting and still accomplish the same thing without going off on somebody and being so mean and so dismeaning and so disgusting. It's ridiculous. Now, let me say that. Now, I just heard you say earlier something about you folks in El Paso are giving everybody in El Paso $500. Is that right?
It is a program that is being considered, so let's just make that clear, because I think there was a little bit of confusion. A couple of city council members proposed it. It has been being discussed, expected to come back up in November after, I think, a little bit more look at it, and mostly they're specifically trying to look for about $500,000 within the budget to do this as a pilot program, and it would be a pretty limited one, going to about 80 families, so a minority of the household, a vast minority of the households in El Paso, so just keep that in mind, but it is being discussed.
Well, what do you mean 500? For what? Food? What? Gas? What?
In short, yes, but also, I mean, it comes down in, that's why I was referring to this in the vein of universal basic income or universal basic support. It's been referred to in a lot of different ways in a lot of different places across the country, but the idea is if it's money given to people for basic expenses, but with no necessarily, it's not like food stamps. If that was, people are questioning about that, it can only be used for certain things. It is just going to be, think about it in the vein of, say, the child tax credit, the way they were doing it in previous years, particularly during the pandemic years, where it was something not just coming back with the tax refund, but of something being given and deposited straight into people's accounts. It would be happening kind of in that same vein.
The whole thing is ridiculous. $500 doesn't buy you squat. That's my bar bill for a week, for crying out loud. On a bad week, by the way. You know what I'm saying? This is ridiculous. $500. What? Who thought about this? What the moron that thought about this thing? That's my question.
Again, there are some questions and some discussions. There was, again, about a 2 to 7, give or take, vote with, again, a couple of notable supporters and a couple of the rest of the council being, at the very least, dubious about the idea, or at the very least finding it in the budget for this pilot program around here. So we'll see. I'm still dubious about it ending up happening, or if it moving forward, at least from that point. So it's not happening at the moment. There will be more discussion about it, and we'll be sure to bring you all more coverage about it. Kind of figured that this one would end up coming up or be a hot button for some people, but we'll keep our eye on it for sure.
This sounds so ignorant for all kinds of different reasons under the sun. I'm going to have to call you back I'm going to have to think about this and come back with a logical thought process on this thing. But the $500, that's squat. That's nothing. That's this whole, and who's paying for this, by the way?
Well, in the way it's been proposed, at least for the city of El Paso, it would be coming out of the El Paso budget. So it was being proposed to come from specifically those ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, but those have been expended for the current amount allocated to our area. So it'd be coming out of general revenue funds, so El Paso taxpayers.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and think about this thing. I'll call you back another day, but this is so stupid. And stop with all the violence out there, everybody out there in Southwest Puerto Rico. You got to love everybody. This is a beautiful, beautiful life we got out here in the Southwest Puerto region, and there's no reason for all of you people to get into people's faces and stuff. So knock it off. That's my ending comment.
Fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
All right, Andrew, take care.
All right, I think we have time to, okay, we'll try to squeeze on one more quick call. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yeah, you're coming through all right now. We got a couple of minutes here.
Right. All right. Cool. Yeah, on our last call on Friday, you muted me and cut me off mid-sentence to once again aggressively defend Republican mayoral candidate Marco's promotion of the Great Replacement on your show. You said, and I quote, "What Marco has talked about with the Great Replacement theory, he has talked about being not in favor of it and saying it's actually Democrats promoting it with their divisive tactics."
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the very first day of Patrick Crucius' sentencing hearing on July 5th, Marco called in exceptionally early to your show that day to tell your listeners, and I quote, "Anyone who says the Great Replacement theory is a lie, no, it's right there if you go to the UN's own document center. We can clearly see Marco promoted the Great Replacement as being true, as happening, and requiring urgent action with that quote and call on July 5th.
Okay, but then I got to put the question to you. Do you take that as being in favor of that theory?
The theory itself is what's the white supremacist...
No. Answer the question here. Do you take what he said as being in favor of the Great Replacement theory? Is that your takeaway from the way he said that?
He believes it's true and happening. That's what that quote specifically...
Okay, you're still not answering the question. Do you take what he said? This is a yes or no question, so try to keep up with me here. Do you take what he said as being in favor of it? Do you take that as him being like, yes, I'm on board with it?
Being in favor means saying it's true, that we need to protect the white race from this plot. You know, saying it's true, that's what the Great Replacement is true. That's what he's communicating, that the white race needs to be protected from this plot.
Okay, so you've often criticized me on my reading and listening comprehension skills, so I'm going to come out here and make a very controversial statement that I took that as not being in favor of it, because saying that it exists or someone's trying to put it in place, because, I mean, sure, there are absolutely people out there who want a lot of really personally objectionable policies put into place, like anyone coming out of the chants in Charleston comes to mind here, as them saying, in any case, so to say that he needs to protect it, particularly from a person that does not identify as that, is interesting to me. And if you're just wanting to find reasons to tear people down when it comes along to it here, and by the way, when you're making incredibly incorrect statements, particularly about me or other people who have called in, and you've been very close to the pin on, again, literal slander, or, again, in this case, this would be slander as opposed to libel, which you put in the comments. In any case, yeah, you're a little bit on notice there, buddy, if you haven't noticed already about the way we do the comments here. Besides, we're already past the bounds of those couple of minutes here. So I took that and that statement as being not in favor of having that idea or a theory put into place. Now, if you're saying that some are wanting it to have there, or you're saying that some organizations are putting into place, listen, you can debate about that all that you want. But again, I'm going to take that as a not being in favor, and if you're saying that, well, they just want what bad things are bad, if it always comes down to the people that you disagree with politically, and calling them a Republican mayoral candidate is a little oxymoron. In any case, appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth right at the end of the show, but we got to end it there for today because we are now completely out of time here for today's program. So we got more stuff coming up for you. We'll be talking more about some of the other things going on and affecting us here, including we got drug takebacks and other stuff happening in our region we'll talk more about, but we got to leave it there because we are, again, super out of time here for this program. I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Until then, until next time, I want you all to stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.